Hi there, it's Catrin from 3Ps. We're not in the gym today, I'm elsewhere in the building. I thought I'd do this in front of this really lovely painting. First of all, because it will get you probably awake in the morning. It's such a great colour. It's also that calming blue, which is quite nice in the evening. So I hope you appreciate the art behind me. This video is about how you progress in weight training. It's often people come to me because they have reached a plateau or they don't really understand the journey and they just want to talk through once you start weights, where you're going to end up. Are you going to end up, looking, like a shot putter, or, in a man's case, how big can you get, for example? But it's all about progress and how does that process work. So I thought it would be helpful just to talk about that. I'm a personal trainer, I'm a weight specialist, so this is my stock in trade. So I'm going to talk about two things. I'm going to talk about, first of all, the physical process you go through as you become more experienced and you go through the various levels of weight training. And the other thing I'm going to talk about is the sort of emotional process as you train or you exercise through your life and the process you go through there. So let's just talk about the the physical, the weight side first. Okay, when you start weight training, it tends to be all about reps rather than sets. So you'll be doing quite a lot of volume. So you'll probably be set, or you'll have looked in a beginner's guide and set yourself exercises with a rep range of 12 to 15 reps per set, and that is quite normal, and that is almost like an endurance type exercise. So it doesn't put a massive strain on your nervous system or your musculature or skeletal system, and it just starts to get your nervous system used to the idea that you're moving your body and challenging its muscles in the way that you do with weight training. So that's a good place to start, and if you're looking to start a routine, that's really where you should start. So any weights exercises, do 12 to 15 reps. Okay. Now, as you become more experienced, it is inevitable that first of all, you'll have a huge amount of progress. So you'll feel much better. You'll gain strength very quickly. And your performance does that. Okay. You'll then hit a plateau, completely normal. Don't panic when that happens. You will hit a plateau. Hopefully, you will then go like that again, hit another plateau, and basically, it's like a staircase. You go up as you progress in any sort of exercise, including weight training. But what happens if you hit a plateau and then you're not sure how to get out of that plateau? Well, the way that you progress from a plateau is to challenge your body again. Now, there are lots of ways you can do that. If in a weight training context, then what you would do in that situation is either increase the intensity of the exercise or move from an 8 to 12 rep range to a lower rep range. So we talk about intensity first. Increasing the intensity means either you add more weight. So the classic, you've started doing a squat, for example, and you're doing 12 to 15 squats, but it's got quite easy and you're not really getting any stronger. You need to add more weights to your bar, and that will start to challenge you again, and your body again will start to shock itself into growing, increasing the muscle size in order to cope with the increased load that you've given it. So that's the first thing you do, is you would add more weight. But there's other things you could do. So you could, for example, slow the weight down. So again, let's use the example of a squat. You will probably be using a steady motion in a squat, and you may be counting with a squat. I always usually count with a squat, so I usually go 1, 2, 3 down, 1, 2, 3 up, 1, 2, 3 down, 1, 2, 3 up. So if you wanted to increase the intensity, you might make it 1, 2, 3, 4 down, 1, 2, 3 up, 1, 2, 3, 4 down, 1, 2, 3 up. Now the reason I would probably add a little bit extra time to the down rather than the up, because it's the down, it's the bending of the knees and the stretching of the quads, which develops the quad muscles rather than the power up. And the reason is because it's the eccentric, the stretch movement in a squat or in any weights exercise, which creates the tiny tears in the muscle, which lead to the muscle growing stronger. So if you're going to add intensity, add the time to the stretch part of the exercise, not the contraction power part of the exercise. So you go 1, 2, 3, 4 down, 1, 2, 3 up, 1, 2, 3, 4 down, 1, 2, 3 up. Okay, so that's another way to increase intensity. So we've talked about two ways. One is you add weight, and the other is you slow it down. The other way you can add intensity classically is to break the movement up into two halves. So again, let's use the example of a squat. Rather than going all the way down, all the way up, you can go halfway down and back up, or you can go down to halfway and go all the way to the bottom and halfway up, all the way to the bottom half. Now, this type of exercise with a squat really burns. So you're increasing your intensity. So what you could do is, whereas you would do 12 to 15 of all the way down, all the way up, normal squats, you might do 6 like that, and then you might do 3, which go from top to halfway down, and then another 3, which go from halfway down to bottom, back to halfway down. So just mix it up, and but your legs should start screaming again, and you'll find that you'll get progress again. So that's one way to come out of a plateau. The other way is to move into, say, the intermediate range if you've been working at the beginner's range. The beginner's range is 12 to 15 reps. Intermediate is 8 to 12 reps. And the reason that you are decreasing your reps is because you're going to take on more weight and you're going to take on more sets. So you'll probably, as a beginner, be doing 8 to 15 reps and maybe 2 sets of each exercise. Whereas at an intermediate, you might be doing 8 to 12 reps and 3 to 4 sets of an exercise. And that is the classic progression in terms of weight training. So when people come to me and say, where am I going to get to in my training? I say, well, the stage 2 is 8 to 12 reps and 3 to 4 sets. That's where you want to get to. And because you are decreasing the number of repetitions you're doing, you can handle more weight. So you naturally will not just be cutting your reps. You won't be making your life easier because you'll also be adding more weight. So, and again, if we use the squats as an example, if you go from 12 to 15 to 8 to 12, you can put some extra plates on that bar because you're only going to be moving that bar 8 to 12 times instead of 12 to 15 times. And to check you've got the right intensity, you should be finding that you're struggling. So you're actually struggling to lift that bar. If you're in the 8 to 12 rep range, by about 5 to 6 reps, you should be finding you're struggling a bit to lift that bar. And if you've got a training partner with you or a trainer, they might well be helping you the last couple of reps to get that bar back up, okay? If, however, you're struggling the 2 to 3 rep range, then that bar is too heavy and you take some weight off again. So you need to judge it a bit, but the aim is to get yourself back and challenge to get you through that plateau, okay? If you are someone who's already at the intermediate stage, you're already doing 8 to 12 reps and you hit a plateau, then the way to increase your intensity, again, you could increase your weight, you could slow the exercise down, or again, drop your rep range. You're then going to get into the classic bodybuilding range, which is 5 to 8 reps. Now, the 5 to 8 rep range is the bodybuilding, is the hypertrophy range. So it's the classic range where your body is shocked enough by the weight to start really building muscle. You can't go straight in at the 5 to 8 rep range as a beginner, because as I said, your body and your neurology needs to get used to the idea of what you're doing with the exercise and how you're developing your body. So you need to work your way up. It's a gradual process. But once you're in the 5 to 8 rep range, you can stay there for quite a length of time because you're building muscle. And particularly if your aim is to build muscle, that's the perfect range for you. But what I would say is that unless it's just about you building muscle for cosmetic reasons, you might want to think about setting yourself some goals at that stage, which are about power. Because in terms of the progression, in the terms of the stages you go through as a weight trainer, it doesn't stop at bodybuilding. Bodybuilder is not top of the pyramid. Top of the pyramid is power. And that's about extreme amounts of weight moved, quickly. The great bodybuilders in the late 70s, so mid to late 70s, so people like Arnold Schwarzenegger and Franco Columbo, they didn't just do bodybuilding. They both were very, very good powerlifters. Franco Columbo in particular, his deadlift was something insane, like 700 pounds. I mean, it was just humongous. But both of them entered power competitions regularly because they didn't think that bodybuilding was the pinnacle. They saw it as part of a range of strength exercise and proving to themselves physically they could keep progressing. So if you're now in the 5 to 8 rep range, you've got maybe attained some side. Think about what you want to do next, how you want to keep challenging yourself, and think about power. And the way to get to power, if you're thinking, well, I do want to get to power, is you drop your rep range even more. And the classic rep range to get to is what's called the 1 rep max. And the 1 rep max is, as it says on the can, is what's the maximum weight you can lift for 1 repetition. So it's the most intense you can get. I wouldn't suggest it becomes the standard training practice in the gym for you, but every now and then, once a fortnight, once a month, to do a 1 rep max routine, it's a great way to push yourself out of a plateau and to get your muscles growing again. And you can do a 1 rep max with virtually any exercise. I would strongly suggest that you have a training partner with you, particularly if you're doing anything like a squat or a chest press or a shoulder press, because if you fail in that 1 rep and you're on your own, it's quite a dangerous position to be in. So you always have someone with you so that can help you if you fail that 1 rep max. It's not something which is just about guys who want to become massive. It's also really good for women to try 1 rep max for 2 reasons. First, because again, it pushes you out of a plateau, and secondly, because it would massively improve your confidence. If you get in there and you find you're chest pressing some serious amount of weight, it won't make you massive because this isn't something you do every day. But if you do it, once a fortnight, once a month, you will really build your confidence, I think, as a woman, if you're actually doing 1 rep maxes. Okay, so that's the other sort of where you can move yourself from a plateau and is really where you want to get to in terms of power, in terms of that, you know, weight training continuum, that weight training staircase up to, you know, maximum, maximum skills, maximum strength. So I said I'd talk about the sort of the physical process, but also about the sort of emotional or the life process you go through when you weight train. And because the point I want to make here, and I think it's really important that we all take on board, is that weight training is a cyclical process. If you look at the great bodybuilders, either the ones of current day, or if you go back, my golden age for bodybuilding was really 67 to 77. I think that was an amazing time for bodybuilders. Those men and women have not stayed there, have not stayed in that shape. If you were Arnold Schwarzenegger and you looked at yourself in 1969 and you looked at yourself now, you wouldn't, if you were a perfectionist, you'd say, you know, I'm not in that shape anymore. That's a really bad thing. But if you are someone who understands life and is realistic about life, you would say, well, other things have become more important. You know, Arnold Schwarzenegger had an acting career, became the governor of California, you know, ran a charitable foundation. You know, your number one, your world will go through periods when it is very narrow and focused maybe on fitness, and then we'll have periods where it's broader, and other things will get in the way. Your job, your family, health, all sorts of reasons may get in the way of your training. And you can't expect always to be at the pinnacle of your fitness. And I think that's really, really important that you understand, because otherwise you will set completely unrealistic goals for yourself. The brilliant thing about the body is that we have something called muscle memory. So if there are periods where you're not able to train to the max the way you'd like to, your body will recover. It may shrink a bit, but it will recover. And one sort of sad story to tell you is a friend of mine who was a champion, who through training to be a champion, through extreme training, he damaged his back. And he's not been able to train properly now for about 3 years, and he's lost a lot of his bulk, and so much of his identity was built around how big he was. He's found that really difficult. But the point is, had he maybe given himself a bit of a break as he was coming up to being champion, or had he maybe been in less of a rush to be champion and therefore been willing to take a bit more time, he might not have injured. Now, I would never say that to him, because at the end of the day, you know, he's my friend, and you know, he did what he did, and you know, he will have his own views that are, you know, his views for him only about what, you know, why this has happened to him. But I would say to anyone who is in a massive hurry to get big or massive hurry to be perfect, is just slow down. It will come. You know, give your body a bit of a break. Also, if you have to have times when you can't train so intensely, that's okay. It's a process, and a process that will ebb and flow like the tides. And look at bodybuilding and look at weight training as something you should be doing for your whole life. Yeah. So you're going to have periods when you have more time for it and periods when you have less time for it, and that's okay. All right. You cannot, if you're Arnold Schwarzenegger, you are not going to stay in the shape you were for Mr. Universe for the rest of your life. But Arnold Schwarzenegger is a fantastic example of someone who never made bodybuilding the only thing in his life. And to give you a quote from another great bodybuilder, a guy called Mike Mentzer, he's quoted as saying, you know, I get up, I go to the gym, I do my training, and then I get on with my life. So what he's saying there, and I absolutely agree with it, is fitness and bodybuilding is an, you know, immense positive in your life, but it cannot be the dominant part. And if you make it the dominant part, you're going to be disappointed, because you cannot maintain peak state forever. You will have periods where you need to come down from your peak state, and also there's other things in your life that need to also occupy you. Otherwise you're going to become very, very boring and very, very bored. Okay, so that's what I really want to say in this video. You know, there's a process for progressing through bodybuilding, but there's a process for accepting that bodybuilding can never be the be all and end all, and it's cyclical. So you're going to have highs and lows. I hope that's been helpful. My name is Catrin Turner. I'm a personal trainer, weight specialist here at 3Ps. You can reach me by emailing me at hello@3pspublishing.com. If you have any particular questions, or you're interested in particular routines or parts of the body you want to train, just let me know. Good questions I'll do videos on so that I can pass the knowledge on. I will always answer your emails if I can. There's lots of videos on this channel. So if you like this video, please give me a thumbs up, or if you didn't, obviously that's up to you too. Please subscribe. It'd be lovely to have you. All the videos on this channel are positive videos about weight training, fitness, nutrition, resilience, positive psychology, all aimed to give you a good boost, give you a lift, give you motivation, so that you are the best that you can be. As our strapline says, you will be you, only better. That's what we're about. Thank you so much for your time. I know you're busy, so it's a real privilege to have your time. Have a brilliant day or night, depending on when you watch this. I'm Catrin at 3Ps, and I will see you soon. Bye.